Hello, what's going on, guys? Hockey Guy 1 here. Welcome to my ranking of the DC Extended Universe. So yeah, as you couldn't tell from my reviews, not exactly the biggest fan of this franchise, but either way, let's get into the ranking. Coming in at number 6, I got Suicide Squad. What a disaster this was. Because the editing is so bad, and to the point where it feels out of place. The story is just terrible. I can't even tell the story. All the exposition is just thrown into one 20-minute thing. And the action scenes are terrible. Cinematography is just terrible. You can barely see a thing. Jared Leto is without a doubt the worst Joker, and just these actors don't really have much chemistry, and the action scenes just are lackluster. The visual effects are garbage. Enchantress is without a doubt not the worst DCEU villain, but one of, without a doubt. She's just so bad, and this movie had a good trailer, and everyone was excited for it, but it turned out to end up being shit. So it ended up being like one of the most disappointing movies I've ever seen because of that. And it's literally like there aren't many positives to say about this. I mean, there's Margot Robbie, Will Smith, who both did pretty good, but this movie's just a disaster from start to finish. For most of it, from start to finish, especially story-wise. Yeah, that's why it's at number 6. At number 5, I got Man of Steel. What a disaster! Like, this has to be one of the most disappointing movies I've seen in a while. I was expecting so much more about it, and it's just so bad. Like, Henry Cavill is not Superman. He doesn't even look like he's into it most of the time. And Zod is just completely wasted and made him look completely weak. And the action scenes are just lackluster. And I mean, there are a few positives like Hans Zimmer's score and the visual effects, but it's still a really bad movie. I mean, the story is just so bad, and it's terribly paced. There's so many flashbacks to the point where it ruins the pacing, and it's just so hard to sit through this movie because it's just so boring and just so bad. It's hard to sit through. Like, the climax is just so bad. And Superman's character is forever ruined, thanks this movie, because they turned him into a killer, just making him snap Zod's neck like that. It's just a terrible thing to do to this character. They shouldn't have done that. Well, he does technically kill Zod in the comic, but the way they did it here is just stupid and just made Superman overpowered by giving him all these powers he never had, and it's ridiculous how terrible this movie ended up being, and that's why it's at number 5. At number 4, I got Batman v Superman: Dawn of Garbage. Because, like I said, it's just garbage. Like, I did kind of used to defend this movie, but like after a rewatch, I mean, it's a disaster. Like, that was just when I was offended. That was just after my first viewing, but it's a disaster without a doubt. I mean, the story is overstuffed with like 5 different comic book stories. It tries to be a Batman standalone, a Man of Steel sequel, a Justice League setup, The Dark Knight Returns, and the Death of Superman all in the same movie, and just is completely overstuffed and ridiculous that they did this all in one movie. And Henry Cavill once again did not do a good job. Affleck is one of the only good things about this movie. Despite his character being garbage, like, they just turned this character into a killer. It is ridiculous. because Batman doesn't kill. This is ridiculous that they made him kill. So, and Wonder Woman was only in here for Justice League setup, and that's it. And the way they introduced the Justice League is flat out stupid. Just an email attachment. Literally, that's how they did it. An email attachment. That's how you introduce these big characters. Really, like you couldn't find any other better way to introduce them. And Lex Luthor is just a terrible villain. Jesse Eisenberg definitely deserved that Razzie because he was awful. And the visuals are terrible, like especially on Doomsday. Doomsday looks more like one of those trolls from Lord of the Rings than Doomsday. And Zack Snyder really has messed up this movie. It's just terrible, and that's why it's at number 4. At number 3, I have Justice League. Well, it's not necessarily a bad movie like everyone says it is, but it's ridiculously mediocre and just really hard to sit through. Like, the story is bland and generic, and Steppenwolf is ridiculously generic as well. Well, he's just a villain who wants to destroy the world, and that's about it. He's generic. And all the characters like Aquaman, Cyborg, Flash, and Superman especially, were all undeveloped characters. I mean, while Superman did, unlike the other 3 I mentioned, at least had a movie, he's still a terrible character in those movies, and they didn't really do much to improve his character here. But Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman are just completely undeveloped characters, and just ridiculous how bad of characters they end up being. Like, Flash was just a comic relief that was unfunny. Aquaman was just terrible. Cyborg didn't really have much character. But I can at least give the movie this. Like, the action scenes were entertaining, unlike the 3 movies below it. But it does take that for me to be entertained into this movie. But Batman and Wonder Woman definitely are great in this movie. And yeah, I mean, this film's not necessarily terrible. It's mediocre, but it still could have been much better, and it's just a little underrated, but still underwhelmingly mediocre. And I had number 2, I got the newest installment, Aquaman. Still not a good movie. It's very mediocre. I could give it this. It's better than I expected. I expected it to be just a garbage movie, but it ended up being mediocre instead. So I guess I could give it that. I mean, Jason Momoa is pretty awesome. And Mara's just terrible, though. Like, there are many problems with this movie. Like, Black Manta was in this movie because reasons. They should have just kept him for the sequel. Ocean Master was just another weak villain in the DCEU. And just, this movie, it just was hard to sit through. Like the story, like, I could see where they were trying to go. Like I said in my review, like, I could see where they were trying to go, but unfortunately, it just wasn't executed very well, and just could have been much better. I mean, I could give them they gave Aquaman his comic book costume, which I'm really glad they did that. And the action scenes are just entertaining. And the best part about the movie is, like, every single action scene is entertaining. The visual effects are gorgeous, for sure. And easily the best part about this movie. And yeah, I mean, this movie is just mediocre, though. Unfortunately. and I'm not expecting much better for the DCU. Prove me wrong next year, DCU. Because this movie's mediocre. And at number 1 is without a doubt Wonder Woman. Y'all saw this from a mile away. It's easily the best DCU movie. It's their only good movie. And it's just awesome. Like, the action scenes, Gal Gadot, Miss Pine, Wonder Woman's character, and Steve Trevor as well, was awesome. And and just about everything about this movie is awesome. I mean, there are a few flaws I have with this movie that puts it down. Like Ares was just a weak villain. He was barely in the movie, and the climax was underwhelming. Yeah, but other than that, the movie's still very, very great. Like when Wonder Woman fights down, I don't know, all the things inside that city with Steve Trevor and all the others was very entertaining, and it's about everything. Action scene in this was entertaining, and definitely they got the character right. The visuals are really good. I mean, they're probably one of the better visuals in this, and they actually look realistic and somewhat good in a DCEU movie. And like I said earlier, the only problem is DCEU's villain problem, which I really hope they end up fixing in the future, because they haven't had a good villain yet. But this movie is definitely entertaining. Like, it had a great story that was actually well executed, and was very entertaining to watch, and easily the best DCU movie, for sure. And yeah, that's why it's my favorite. So yeah, that was my ranking of the entire DC Extended Universe. So yeah, next I'm definitely gonna rank the 2018 comic book movies next. And what is your ranking of the DCEU? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Just tell me your ranking in the comments below. And I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.